Okay, hey Instagram. I have just finished a live over on Facebook. However, it was too long to share onto Instagram. So I have 15 minutes to try and get this extremely important message across that I am exceedingly passionate about. Now, before I begin, this is in no way, shape or form a political rant. This isn't about politics, even though it's entirely about politics, and I'll explain why. I believe what's happening at the moment with the devastating, heartbreaking, extremely shocking bushfires that are raging across our nation, we are looking for someone to blame. And rightly so. We're all mad and we're upset and we're seeking leadership. I completely respect that. I am as well. However, having worked in federal politics for 4 years inside the walls of Parliament House and understanding significantly how change is made and how legislation is birthed and managed, I have been perplexed the last couple of weeks at how blame is starting to get solely put onto one man. And I'm not here to debate whether he deserves it or not, or if he was right or wrong. How you feel is correct. Whatever you're feeling is right. There's no one can tell you how you should feel about this. And I mean that with my whole soul. Whatever you're feeling is correct. However, I think there is a real chance here to make impactful, long-lasting, unbelievably powerful legislative change. And here's how. So we're all mad. We're all pissed off. We all recognize as Australians, I've been reading the polls, I've been looking into it all, that the climate is changing. And I think that a lot of politicians are kind of getting out of, in fact, I know most politicians are currently getting out of responsibility of the discussion because we're all blaming ScoMo, Scott Morrison, which puts 226 other federal and Senate members of Parliament off the hook, which I think is unfair and wrong. And that's what I'm here to talk about. And number two, we're all mad and pissed off. This is where grassroots movements begin. This is activism. So, am I an activist? No way, shape or form. However, I see a real opportunity to make a very big change, significant change for our nation. So, what I really want to quickly do is first of all explain how Parliament works and the intention that I am hoping to pass on. And the second thing is share with you the letter I have written for you if you feel feel called to share it with your local federal member of Parliament. And here's why. When laws are changed in Australia, created and then voted on or changed or implemented or birthed, it happens in Parliament. One man doesn't decide that, aka Scott Morrison. A group of parliamentarians do. Thank goodness, because that would be a dictatorship otherwise. What then happens is it goes through the House of Representatives. We have the lower house and we have the upper house. The lower house is the House of Representatives, so your federal member of Parliament, your local federal member. Upper house is the Senate. Senate is awesome. That's kind of where it gets stopped or passed. Absolutely impactful, important. But where the change needs to begin with is in the House of Representatives, and that's where you come in. So you currently live in a house. That house lives in a suburb or is situated in a suburb. That suburb is situated in an electorate. You in Parliament are what is considered a constituent. As a constituent, you have a huge say. Your federal member of Parliament doesn't go to Parliament to represent his best interests or his vested interests. He goes to Parliament, or she goes to Parliament. When I was in politics, it was just a lot of men. They go to Parliament to represent you, the constituent. As a majority, absolutely. They can't represent every single voice, but they will always do their best. They do try, and represent the majority. If that majority don't have a voice and aren't calling the office, aren't sending letters, and aren't communicating to them specifically as the voter in their electorate what's actually important to them, how do they can't represent you in Parliament, okay? So that's where I've been getting perplexed and frustrated because I'm like, be mad, demand leadership from ScoMo, 100%. However, funnel that anger and funnel that energy into your own local member as well, because a mass mail out is where change can occur, because then that politician has to go to Parliament, has to. And if and when legislation comes up, and I encourage them to create it in this letter if they don't feel it's available to them, they have to go on that Parliament floor, talk about it, raise the issue, robustly discuss it. If legislation isn't there, create the legislation. If demand is there enough, and then that's how law is passed. And I believe we can make a real impact on, renewable energy. I think we have a real chance here at demanding, we commit harder and higher and better to reducing carbon emissions, greenhouse gases, which has ultimately put us in this extreme weather condition environment. So that's why I'm imploring you, if you are passionate, and this is where I'm like, it's not political. I'm not telling you to vote one way. I'm telling you to channel your anger beautifully and impassionately, or impassioned towards a cause that you give a shit about in a big way. So that's where I'm not saying, I don't care who you vote for. I really don't. I always say, don't vote for the person, vote for the politics, vote for the policy. And this is where I'm saying, but we get to have a chance from the grassroots to have a say and to impact that change. So here's a letter I've written because I don't want to go over time. And I'm going to put it in the comment section of this Instagram TV. I'll put a link to the Dropbox where the letter will sit. All you then have to do is find your local federal member of parliament and address them respectfully, so their correct title, and so honourable or doctor or Mrs. or Mr. And yeah, obviously put your details at the bottom, but you're going to see all that. So this is the letter that I have created for you to have more of a voice and to channel this energy and anger towards the correct member of parliament, your member of parliament. Dear, insert your MP's correct name here, including if they have honourable in their prefix. Re, our nation's changing climate / Australia's bushfires. My name is your name, and I'm a constituent in your electorate of, insert your electorate name here, and an active voter in federal and state campaigns. Really important. I'm writing to you today as I need my position noted and recorded by your office on where I stand on environmental issues for our nation. So when you represent your constituent in Parliament on any environmental issues, including voting on environmental legislation, you in fact have a correct representation of where your constituents stand. I am deeply concerned that Australian politicians, yourself included, are not taking the issue of our changing climate and environmental issues in Australia seriously enough. This will be the policy I will be basing my vote on 2022. Take that out if that's not true. I will be. In 2019, we officially saw our hottest summer on record, 2.67 degrees above average. I referenced that. Not to mention that 8 of Australia's top 10 warmest years on record have occurred since 2005. I've referenced that. Statistics and facts we can't ignore as bushfires rage and droughts worsen. As of right now, our nation is currently on fire. Houses and livelihoods are being destroyed, and lives are being lost, and all the while, our nation is still warming. By the government's own findings, State of the Climate 2018, page 5, it states, there has been an associated increase in the length of the fire weather season. Climate change, including increasing temperatures, is contributing to these changes. In that same report, it warns that the changing climate, with Australia seeing an increased temperature having risen by around 1 degree since 1910, and a drop-off in cool season rainfall across mainland Australia, increasing the risk of extreme bushfires in Australia. The reality is here, with Australia currently in the grips of its worst national fire season ever recorded. From a national health perspective as well, this is becoming all of our issue. With air being so toxic in certain areas and cities, we are being warned it is the equivalent to smoking more than a pack of cigarettes a day. This is what you're asking for. I'm asking that you don't sit idle in your office or in Parliament House on any and all environmental issues. I respect and understand there is science, on both sides of the climate change debate, but we cannot ignore the facts now at hand that our country is burning and we were warned. I respect and understand there are comprehensive issues in industry and jobs to do with climate change legislation, because there are, you guys. That granted, I, as a constituent, may not fully comprehend. However, because we don't. To me right now, regarding and understanding the government's own reports, I will not ignore anymore the fact that the oceans are warming, the temperatures are rising, and Australia is burning. And if we don't all do our part, both legislatively and personally, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions based on that same report, this fire weather will continue to become more frequent and severe. We were warned, and we are still being warned. We now must act. I am asking you to lead. I am asking that you stop thinking that the changing climate is not Australia's problem, because we can do so much better as a nation. I trust, because remember guys, that they are doing the best that they can with what they know, and they are still a human, and we always can have respect. I trust as a federal member of parliament, you are in fact doing your very best when it comes to representing us, your constituents. But I am asking as a voter in 2020 for you to do better. To do all you can to promote strong cuts to our carbon pollution, to even create the legislation on how to do that from an industry perspective if you don't believe that legislation yet exists, as a matter of urgency. And to reinvigorate and innovate the renewable energy industry. I look forward to receiving a reply from you on this matter. Kind regards, your name. I wrote that letter today, spending hours looking up the facts, reading the statistics, not all because it is comprehensive, it is a very big issue, it is very political, it is very precious, obviously, and sensitive because Australia is still burning and people are still losing their lives and they are losing their livelihoods. However, I am thinking long term, and I don't want it to get any further, knowing what I know when my mother brought me up to say, if you know better, you can do better, and I know better, so I'm just trying to do better. And I think if you are impassioned, or you're pissed off, or you're angry, or you're upset, or you're scared, this is the action that you need to take. Send the letter to your federal member of parliament to take action now. That's all you need to do. And you need to follow that up, and follow that up, and follow that up until you get a reply, and demand action. And here's what you need to understand, that it's not just you. If you can, it's not even about sharing this, but you go have this conversation now with friends and family and tell them the same, that it's not up to one man. This isn't a dictatorship. He can lead, yes, but it comes down to you having your voice heard locally for the federal issues, which is our climate, in your local federal member's office. They have to go to parliament when it sits again and talk about the issues at hand, which is this. So that's all I'm asking you to do. I'll put all the notes in the comments essentially. And the last thing I'll finish on this story, and I did it on Facebook and I got really emotional, but I'm sure I won't now. But this is what I want you to understand. And I'll end it with a story. There's a little boy, and you probably heard this, that was walking along a beach one day and there was thousands of starfish along the shoreline. And he was picking up the starfish one by one and throwing it back in the ocean. Picking up the next starfish, throwing it in the ocean. Picking up the next starfish and throwing it in the ocean. You know, he looked up and he had thousands of starfish in front of him. And an adult approached and said, you know, young man, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm saving the starfish. I'm picking the starfish up and I'm putting them back in the ocean. I'm saving the starfish. And this adult said, but there's no point. What is the point? You're one little boy and there's thousands of starfish. How are you ever going to save them all? You're never going to save them all. What does it matter? And he picked up the next starfish and he threw it in the ocean. And he said, but I saved that one's life. And that's how I feel about this issue, this matter, this policy. You might feel insignificant because you're just one person, one little boy, one little girl throwing, you know, your opinion at the federal member. But if you can start a movement and you can get people talking and you can get your voice heard because of a mass voice, that's how real change, long-term legislative change and true impact can occur. So I hope this has served you in some way. If it has, share it so people they can find the letter. If you want to write your own letter, by the way, I should have said, this is just if people don't have time and don't know what to say. I just did it for you. But if you have an opinion, get to it, send it. But yeah, that's for people that just need some help. So sending you love, sending you light, sending you an unbiased way to deal with this. And yeah, let's do this, Australia.